The dystopian world of Half-Life 2 is one we enter when it's at its most desperate. Freeman is the one to save everyone, defeat the Combine, and somehow overcome the odds. But just how helpless really is the world of Half-Life 2 when we arrive? I mean, nothing about it is ideal in the slightest, but how possible would it really be to live a somewhat normal life? Let me first describe what I mean by somewhat normal. A giant oppressive force like the Combine has it in their best interest to convert everyone on the planet into believers of their cause. That's the purpose of the Breencasts, after all. So, I would have to imagine that, to a degree, the Combine would want to somewhat emulate a normal life. That'd be their best bet at making everyone believe that they're the righteous saviors they want to be seen as. It makes sucking the humanity out of the humans easy. So the essentials to achieve this normal effect for a normal person, let's say someone like Bob here.
Hi.
Bob, of course, needs food and water, which will probably be our main point of evaluation, but leisure is just as important too. While it's clear that some characters in the universe are wise to the Combine, I imagine there are probably a lot more who aren't. So we'll have to make a note of the activities that one can do, such as watching TV,
I thought you were a cop.
spending time outside on the playground, kicking a boot around, anything like that. Without further ado, let's roleplay DHS or some other three-letter agency and see just how possible it is to survive inside Half-Life 2. This apartment is the first one we walk into in the game. Because there is a playground outside, we'll start all of the apartments in this area with 1 point for leisure. When we enter the apartment itself, we see a pretty drunk guy
Was that you knocking? I didn't even know we still had a door.
and a couple other people watching outside the window with a TV! It's a bit unclear in universe whether citizens have to watch the Breencast or if there are other channels that the Combine run. Assuming that there are at least a couple entertainment channels or something just for the sake of this video, I'll add each TV as 1 point of leisure. Now, there is a barricade between these two apartments, so even though they're technically probably part of the same apartment, I'll consider them two separate ones. In the kitchen area, we have an eaten cup of Chinese food, which is actually everywhere in the game. I don't really know why. So I'll make the assumption that somehow citizens are able to get their hands on specialty foods beyond the sustenance packages that they get for free. Either way, I'll add 1 point of food for each of them. There is a jug of milk here too, which I'll count as half point for food and water. There's also a paint can and bleach in here, but because Bob doesn't have an iron gut like I do, we won't be counting those. There are also various pots and pans, which lead me to believe citizens can cook their own food, so if I happen to find any raw ingredients, I'll include those too. Now, the water situation in this half of the apartment is pretty poor. We won't count whatever exists in the apartment next door because we're determining feasibility per home. There are no sinks in this apartment, which means everyone has to expend their energy getting canned water from the reserves downstairs. What a walk. Finally, it's probably a good idea to track comfort too. While there are plenty couches here, there are 0 real beds at all, except for this stray mattress. Yikes. I'll only give this place half a point for comfort. So, this first apartment isn't the best. All in all, our tally is 1.5 for food, 0.5 for water, ouch, 2 for leisure, and 0.5 for comfort. Well, let's see what it's like just one door down. When we first get in, we're met with this couple crying on the couch. A TV will certainly help a little bit, so we'll tally that. And in this other room, there's a nice little lamp. Maybe that makes someone a bit more comfortable, so we'll add 1 point for that. Something to offset that couple in the other room. What's important to note though is that there is no food in this apartment, not anything on top of their normal packages they get at the plaza anyway, and that's quite the walk to go for a single bite. Very much not an ideal scenario. On the plus side though, there is a sink, toilet, and bathtub in this apartment. I'll make the silly assumption that there is running water here, and I'll add 1 point to water for the sink, 1 point for leisure with the toilet, tons of fun to be had there, and half a point of leisure and comfort for the bathtub. I'll also add half a point of comfort for this little mattress out here. If I had to write a review, I'd say everything but the food situation is a decent step up from the room beside them. This apartment tallies a 0 for food, which is not great. Depends on what's in those packages, doesn't it? 1 point for water, 3.5 for leisure, and 1 for comfort. Probably a perfectly mediocre apartment in a well-developed city. Just up the stairs, we run into a pretty similar apartment, so I'll keep this one a bit quicker so we can move on to something else. We've got an entire 1, 2, 3 TVs! Bed, and this time it's a real bed, not just a mattress lying on the floor. Eating Chinese food, and a big juicy thing of milk. 2 whole entire couches. A toilet and a sink with no door or enclosure. Phew, what a nice place! Though, I wouldn't much like pooping this publicly. I digress. This place tallies a shocking 1.5 for food, 1.5 for water, 4 for leisure, and 2 for comfort. Wowzas. Wouldn't you just love to live here, Bob? Now, there isn't much in the way of actual apartments after this, but what's the global state of City 17 during Half-Life 2? How accessible really is food and water? Is any of it good for you? Does the water really make you forget? Does the water really make you forget? Let's step back to the plaza and analyze the food that the citizens are given. What is this stuff anyway? Contains beef stew, crackers, synthetic strawberry, and jam. I'm going to assume that it's crackers. Now that sounds absolutely revolting, but what would really be the nutrition of something like this? Would this alone be enough to, well, survive? It says net weight of 13 ounces, or 376 grams. I'm going to make the very rough estimation of about 100 grams per item. Assuming 100 grams, the beef stew might be somewhere around 94 calories, crackers might be maybe 400 calories, which, wow, that's a lot. The strawberries might be something like 40 calories, assuming it's supposed to mimic the caloric intake of real strawberries, and the jam would probably be something like 250 calories. With this very rough guess, we can assume the value of one of these might be somewhere around 784 calories. Beneath the metal thing, we can see it says this is one complete meal. So if one citizen had 3 of these every day, that's about 2,352 calories a day. Granted, the actual contents of the package are probably portioned differently, and this doesn't take into account proteins or carbs or fats or anything like that, but given this rough estimate and the fact that on average most adult humans need about 2,000 calories a day, I think, this package plus whatever you can get from doing odd jobs or whatever else is probably enough to survive. Maybe not well, but the title of this video isn't "Could You Be Happy in City 17," is it? The water situation doesn't look much better either. All it takes is a quick airboat trip to realize the city's water supply is, not looking the greatest. It's either completely drained or contaminated with some nasty substance that makes it undrinkable. Ugh! I'll have to report that to the proper authorities. Never fear, Dr. Breen's private reserve is here. Maybe. I can't really tell if private here means that you need some kind of VIP access, but judging by the fact that everyone isn't dead, I'd say it's probably accessible to most everyone. But they do also drink a lot of beer as well, so it's possible that these machines aren't very reliable at all. As I said before though, I'm going to make the assumption that there is some kind of running water in City 17, even if it's pumped full of nasty substances that maybe on second thought you wouldn't want to bathe in. Either way, it seems perfectly plausible that you could easily survive in City 17, though maybe not excellently. Never stopped people in the real world though, so maybe it wouldn't be too bad for someone used to New York or LA or something. Let's write this all down and give our findings to Bob to see where he'd like to live in City 17. It seems that Bob is a wise man, and he's picked the 3rd apartment. Well, it's been a pleasure doing business with you, Bob, and whether you are here to stay or passing through on your way to parts unknown, welcome to apartment number 3. And that'll run you back about $1,800 a month.
I'm pissed.